The farm's not turning a profit anymore, Dad declared, standing at the head of our family dining table. We're selling to Western Development. They're offering good money to build a shopping center. I sat quietly, watching my family's reactions. My older brother James nodded enthusiastically. He'd never had any interest in farming anyway. My sister Maria was already on her phone, probably calculating her share of the sale. Mom just stared at her hands, twisted in her lap. My name is Daniel Cooper, and at 28, I was about to watch my family sell off my grandfather's legacy. The same farm where I'd spent every summer learning from him, where he taught me every inch of the 200 acres he'd spent his life cultivating. The developers are coming tomorrow to finalize everything, Dad continued. They're offering $2 million. Split 4 ways, that's a decent inheritance for each of you kids. What about Grandpa's wishes? I finally spoke up. He wanted the farm to stay in the family. Dad's face hardened. Your grandfather's been gone 6 months, Daniel. Times change. We can't keep holding on to a failing business out of sentiment. I touched the letter in my pocket, the one Grandpa had given me the day before he died. Did you even try to make it work? The organic certification I suggested. Enough. Dad cut me off. This isn't up for discussion. The decision's been made. James smirked from across the table. Still playing farmer, little brother. Some of us have real careers to think about. I bit back a retort. James had never understood why I quit my corporate job to help Grandpa run the farm in his final years. To him, success meant a corner office and a luxury car, not dirt under your fingernails. The developers did their surveys last week, Dad added. Everything's ready to go. We just need to sign the papers tomorrow. I stood up slowly. I need to check something in the barn. Now? Mom looked concerned. It's getting dark. Won't take long. The walk to the barn gave me time to think. In my pocket, Grandpa's letter felt heavy with possibility. I hadn't opened it yet. He'd made me promise to wait until it was truly needed. You'll know when, he'd said, his eyes twinkling with that familiar mischief. The old barn stood silhouetted against the sunset, its weathered boards holding decades of family history. I pulled out my flashlight and the letter, my hands trembling slightly as I broke the seal. Dear Danny, if you're reading this, they're probably trying to sell the farm. Your father never understood what we were building here. He saw the surface, the crops, the equipment, the traditional farming everyone else was doing. But you and I, we saw deeper. Remember those special seeds we planted in the North Field? The ones we never told anyone about? It's time to show them what we did. Love, Grandpa. P.S. Check behind the loose board in my old office. You'll find everything you need. My heart raced as I hurried to Grandpa's office in the back of the barn. The loose board was right where it had always been, concealing a small space behind it. Inside, I found a thick folder filled with papers, research documents, certification forms, and most importantly, proof of what we planted in the North Field, a specially developed strain of heritage wheat, now thriving in soil everyone else thought was worthless. I flipped through the papers with growing excitement. Grandpa hadn't just been teaching me farming, he'd been preparing for this moment. The heritage wheat was now one of the most sought-after varieties by organic food companies, and we had 20 acres of it, quietly growing while everyone thought the farm was failing. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. Don't forget, developers here at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Don't be late. I smiled, tucking the folder under my arm. Don't worry, Dad, I muttered. I wouldn't miss it for the world. In the growing darkness, I walked to the North Field. The wheat stood tall and strong, our secret hiding in plain sight. Tomorrow would change everything, but not in the way my family expected. The developers arrived precisely at 9 a.m., their sleek cars looking out of place against the weathered farm equipment. Mr. Thompson, their lead representative, wore an expensive suit that was already wilting in the morning heat. Beautiful property, he said, eyeing the land like a predator sizing up prey. Perfect location for our new retail complex. Dad beamed, probably already imagining the check in his hands. James stood nearby in his designer clothes, trying to look important. Maria had at least made the effort to show up, though she hadn't looked up from her phone once. Before we start, I said, stepping forward, I think there's something everyone needs to see. Daniel, Dad warned, don't make this difficult. I pulled out Grandpa's folder. Did any of you actually look at the recent soil surveys, the ones the developers did? Mr. Thompson frowned. Our surveys showed standard agricultural land, nothing special. Really? I spread out several papers on the hood of his car. Because these certified lab results show something very different. Dad moved closer, his face darkening. What are you talking about? Grandpa and I spent the last 3 years rehabilitating the Northfield. We used specialized organic farming techniques, developed a unique soil composition. I pointed to the test results. This land isn't just farmland anymore. It's certified organic heritage farming soil. Do you know how rare that is? Mr. Thompson's eyes widened as he scanned the documents. Even James stopped checking his reflection in his phone screen to pay attention. That's impossible, Dad sputtered. The farm's been losing money. No, Dad, I interrupted. You just weren't looking at the right numbers. I pulled out more papers from the folder. Remember that worthless wheat field? It's not ordinary wheat. It's a specialized heritage strain that Grandpa and I developed. And those companies you think aren't interested in our farm, they're very interested. I handed him a letter from Organic Harvest Foods, one of the largest organic food distributors in the country. Their offer to contract our heritage wheat production made the developer's offer look like pocket change. This can't be real, James stammered, finally seeing the numbers. Oh, it's real, I said. Grandpa knew what he was doing. While everyone thought he was just a stubborn old farmer, he was actually building something revolutionary, and he left it to me. I pulled out the final document, Grandpa's updated will, filed just weeks before his death. The Northfield, the most valuable part of the farm, had been left solely to me. You can still sell the rest, I said quietly, but the Northfield? That's mine, and I'm not selling. The silence that followed was deafening. Mr. Thompson cleared his throat uncomfortably. Perhaps we should reschedule this meeting. Our offer would need to be substantially revised without the Northfield. Dad's face had turned an alarming shade of red. You knew about this? All this time? I knew Grandpa had a plan, I replied. He wanted to make sure the farm went to someone who understood its real value. Not its price tag, its value. Maria finally looked up from her phone. But what about our inheritance? If you're interested in actually working the farm, helping me expand what Grandpa started, there's plenty of opportunity. I met each of their eyes. But if you're just looking for a quick payday, I suggest you look elsewhere. Mr. Thompson was already packing up his papers, making a hasty retreat. The development deal was clearly dead without the Northfield, the most accessible part of the property and now the most valuable. You can't do this, James protested. It's not fair. I thought about all the summers they'd refused to help on the farm, all the times they'd mocked Grandpa's outdated methods. Life rarely is, I said, gathering up my documents. But Grandpa taught me something important. True value isn't always obvious at first glance. Sometimes you have to dig deeper, work harder, and be patient enough to watch things grow. I turned and walked toward the Northfield, where the heritage wheat swayed in the morning breeze. Behind me, I could hear Dad and James arguing, Maria complaining loudly about her lost shopping center plans. But standing there, surrounded by what Grandpa and I had built together, I knew I'd made the right choice. Some legacies were worth more than money could buy. 1 year later, I stood in the same spot where the developers' cars had parked, but the view was dramatically different. The heritage wheat field had expanded to cover 60 acres, organic certification signs marked our boundaries, and a new barn stood proud against the horizon. The local newspaper reporter taking pictures seemed impressed. So this is what saved the Cooper farm, she said, scribbling in her notebook. Part of it, I replied, watching our new employees work the fields. Several local farming families had joined us, eager to learn organic farming techniques. The farm that my family had written off as worthless now employed 15 people. My phone buzzed. A text from Maria. Saw your fancy new tractor. Finally making some real money, little brother. I smiled but didn't respond. Last month's organic certification had caught everyone's attention, especially when Organic Harvest Foods doubled their original offer. Suddenly, the family members who dismissed me were very interested in my hobby farm. Danny. Mom's voice called from the farmhouse. She'd started helping with the farm's bookkeeping 3 months ago after Dad's construction business hit hard times. The investors are here. I walked to the house, straightening my shirt, no suit and tie. I'd learned from Grandpa that real farmers dress for dirt, not boardrooms. Inside, representatives from 3 organic food companies sat around our kitchen table, where Grandpa had taught me to read seed catalogs. Mr. Cooper, the lead investor, smiled. Your latest soil analysis reports are impressive. We'd like to discuss expansion plans. Before I could respond, the screen door creaked open. James stood there, looking uncomfortable in casual clothes instead of his usual business suit. "Sorry I'm late," he said quietly. "Traffic from the city." I nodded, surprised he'd come at all. After losing his corporate job in a downsizing, he'd been less dismissive of the farm's success. Last week, he'd actually asked if I needed help. The meeting went well. The investors were excited about our plans to convert another 40 acres to organic production. As they left, James lingered behind. "Danny," he started, then paused. "I've been thinking about what you said. About working the farm together." I leaned against Grandpa's old desk. "It's not easy work, James. No corner office, no fancy title." "I know," he looked at his hands. "But watching you this past year, you've built something real, something that matters." He pulled out some papers. "I've been studying organic farming techniques. Online courses." Before I could respond, Dad's truck rumbled up the driveway. He'd been avoiding the farm since the failed sale, but today he stepped out slowly, looking around as if seeing it for the first time. "Place looks different," he said gruffly. "Good different." "It should," I replied. "We just got approved for that sustainable farming grant, the one Grandpa applied for before he died." Dad nodded, then pulled something from his jacket, an old photograph. It showed him as a young man, standing proudly with Grandpa in front of the farm. "Found this yesterday," he said softly. Made me remember why Dad never wanted to sell. It wasn't about the money for him. "It still isn't," I said. We stood in silence, watching the sunset behind the wheat fields. Finally, Dad spoke again. "Your brother tells me you might need help with the expansion." "We do," I said carefully. "Someone with construction experience would be useful for the new storage facilities." A small smile crossed Dad's face, the first I'd seen in months. Maybe we could talk about that." Later that evening, after everyone had left, I walked to Grandpa's favorite spot, a hill overlooking the entire farm. The heritage wheat glowed golden in the dying light. Next year's fields were already marked out, and the new organic certification flags fluttered proudly. I pulled out Grandpa's letter, worn now from many readings. "You were right," I said to the evening air. "They finally see it." From my pocket, I took out the small box he'd left me, the one I'd found behind that loose board with the documents. Inside was his old pocket watch, engraved with words I now understood perfectly. "Time reveals the value of patience." The farm was more than land now. It was becoming what Grandpa had always envisioned, a family legacy, built on understanding the true worth of things that take time to grow. As the stars began to appear, I could almost hear his laugh on the wind, proud of the seeds we planted together, both in the earth and in our family's hearts. Some treasures, after all, grow better when they're given time to take root.